Everyone get out!
Hello, tankers and tankettes. I've decided to mess with my own recording schedule a little bit to make this one because it's been a special thing has happened. After 12,000 battles and like 18 months playing, I finally got a tier 10. I know I'm a little bit behind the curve compared to most people, but I've enjoyed my journey getting here. So it seemed like a good reason to jump ahead slightly in terms of replays. Now, as you may or may not know, I've been, I've had the KV4 for a while, which I've kept. I've got the STI, which I've kept, and I now have this thing, the IS-4. And I was kind of not really planning to buy it as my tier 10. I was gonna go for the mouse or the T110E5 or something else, but I actually decided no, stuff it, right. I'm gonna do this, and thanks to not one but actually two generous donations from, now let's see, it was Norbum and Joachim Alpine. I was actually able to have enough credits and gold to train the crew as well, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I basically sold my IS-3. I had enough credits from one of the gift packages, and I used the IS-3 crew for this. And I'm actually, this was the very first match I played in it, and it's on the stream. I'm with Foch and Circumflexes, and as you can see, I'm just admiring my new tech. But yeah, having bought it, I don't regret it, even though I told myself I was going to wait, but no, I don't regret it at all. Sometimes the impulses are good to give into. So, yeah, it's basically, it's the same, it's the STI gun with a couple of buffs. It's got a better rate of fire, better aim time. I think the accuracy is the same, but I'm not certain. The armor scheme is, the armor values are pretty similar. The sides of the turret are thicker, and I think the given armor values are otherwise the same. And it's a little bit faster. So just my initial impression, and I've played less than a dozen games as of making this video, is that it feels like a slightly beefier STI. It's got, the hull is actually quite a similar shape, and I suspect the armor is going to be quite similar as well. So I already know how to use this particular armor, and I don't know, the one downside it's got to the STI, the big upside is it's got masses of hit points, 2,500. Foch behind me is driving the E100, and that's only got 2,700 hit points. So he's only got 200 more than me. That's pretty nice. That's quite a buff on what the STI gets. But yeah, the only real downside to this, yeah, that's right, shoot the IS-7 turret, that's going to work out. The only downside is that it has worse gun depression that I can see, and in all other respects it just feels like a somewhat slightly better, not massively improved, but it does feel like a buff to the STI. And because I know the gun and I know how to use the armor already, it's actually, I've been able to just jump into it straight away, and yeah, I've been enjoying it even when I've done terribly. It's quite novel being top tier all the time. Strange that. Anyway, to the battle at hand. It's Malinovka. There's an IS-7 there, which normally, I don't know, there's something psychological going on here. Normally I would be, oh, it's an IS-7, even in my STI or something like that. But even though I've got the same gun and it's not like I've got massively better armor or anything, I don't know, that just the fact of being in a tier 10 makes one somehow a bit more confident, because you're top dog. There's nothing above you. I don't know, I enjoy it. Although, yeah, artillery's trying to bring down my expectations a notch or two there, unfortunately. Yeah, but still, I'm actually, this thing, it's like the STI, it can really take some punishment. Artillery is still a threat, because it's a threat to everyone, and if someone gets behind you or flanks you or whatever, yes, that's, really bad news, but that's the same anytime. Yeah, that shot was never going to work. But the armor is just, you can just, you know, obviously I don't have any other tier 10s to compare this to, so I don't know how it is compared to the IS-7, but you know, it feels good. It feels like a good machine, and I don't know. I can see why people go with the IS-7 because of the gun, and the armor is pretty good on the IS-7 as well. But this thing, I don't regret it. I don't regret it. Wow, I just sound like such a fangirl right now. Anyway, I know there's stuff down there. There's bad stuff, but I'm just like I've got armor. Screw it. I'm gonna do it. It's the artillery that's more of a worry. So I'm being a bit cautious, but not as cautious as I could be. And I think at this point we were going, right, who's going to go down the hill first? And I was like, screw it. I know I'm at 43%, and I know Foch is in an E100, but screw it. I'm just going to banzai charge out of them, knowing that there's enough firepower on the hill behind me. And the team is, you know, the team is looking pretty solid. We've got them, you know, the score's 7-3. Unfortunately, Sercon was one of the ones that died because he took up a very aggressive position. And there was, yeah, a limited amount that he got himself into a position where it can pay off well, but unfortunately it's very hard to retreat from. So, oh ho, hello scumbag. Can I one-shot him? Oh, no. No, I can't even hit him. Critical damage on an artillery. Oh well. Ah, 113, okay. I don't know much about this tank, but I'm going to shoot it anyway. So, I'm just keeping myself nice and angled against this guy. That's it, you just shoot my front plate, buddy. See how that works out for you. Bang. There we go. Like I said, I know this gun's nice and reliable, and yeah, I know it. Oh, another critical. It actually, was that a bounce even? I don't know. I can't actually, when I'm recording these things, I can't actually hear what's going on in the game because of the sound setup with my computer and the microphone and such. Anyway, what was I? The improved aim time actually feels like the biggest buff on the gun. It doesn't get a tremendously improved rate of fire. It's like 5 rounds per minute versus 4.8 on the STI, something like that. So it's, you know, that's not a major buff, but it's nice to have that. But the improved aim time is the biggest buff of all. And at the moment, because I spent all my credits buying this thing, I was able to demount from the IS-3 with gold, a vertical stabilizer, and a gun lane drive. So I've got those on at the moment. I don't have a gun rammer, which seems like it would be more useful. And I might, you know, I might have one of those in and events as well, because at the moment I'm leaving a spare slot for well, that missed, for something, a toolbox. That's what I'm leaving it for, because I don't have, like I said, this is my IS-3 crew and they only have one skill at the moment. So there we go, there's that improved aim time. Yeah, nice try hitting me from that distance, buddy. And a T-32. You know, I admire your optimism, but it's not happening, mate. It's just not. So there we go. I've done a pretty respectable amount of damage, and we're pretty much at the end of the battle. They, you know, oh god, there's still people capping, of course. They, well, classic Kampanovka mistake. They did not try and, well, you know, they did try and take the hill, but I think we were just outnumbered them and had more firepower than them, and outplayed them. And anyway, yeah, and I thought it was a good first outing from my first tier 10. Anyway, and I've gone straight to Mastery Badge First Class, which is always nice. I did, you know, obviously the damage requirement wasn't that high for, well, the XP requirement wasn't that high for the Mastery Badge when I happened to play it, but I think probably the clincher was the fact that I also got a pretty decent amount of spotting damage. So as we all know, Soviet heavies make the best scouts, and clearly this game was no exception. So yeah, I've enjoyed this tank, and I will certainly play the heck out of it, because this whole line has been a lot of fun for me. I'm actually tempted to go back and rebuy the KV3 and the T150, but I'm running out of garage slots, so maybe at some point, and I will do a proper, you know, in-depth review of the whole line Anyway, next time there's a garage slot sale, I shall invest in a few more and maybe think about doing that. So, if you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like, you can comment, you can go check out my Facebook page, which I keep, I do sometimes remember to ask people to do. There's lots of good stuff on there. And as always, stay tuned for more.